Star Wars: Phantom Menace. Released in May of 1999 with a runtime of 2 hours and 19 minutes. 16 minutes, whatever. Starring Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Ian McDiarmid, and Jake Lloyd. Production budget of $115 million. A domestic take of $474 million, a worldwide take of $552 million, for a total profit of just over $1 billion. This is the movie that millions of fanboys convinced themselves was good and went and saw it several times. I was one of them, sadly. So let's run down the list of main characters and the largely wasted acting talent behind them. Qui-Gon Jinn, what many of us would refer to as a grey Jedi. He's a good guy, but he's quite the sly dog. He's a very shifty negotiator, he cheats with the Force a lot, and he straight up lies quite a few times actually. Needless to say, he's one of my favourite characters in the movie. Liam Neeson brings a gravitas and a presence to this role, even when he probably didn't need to. Obi-Wan Kenobi, pretty good, entertaining enough, feasible character, not too bad at all. Again, a bit of a waste for Ewan McGregor. Didn't have a lot to work with in this, was really much the sidekick. He really doesn't come into his own character until the next two movies. Natalie Portman as Queen Amidala, or Padme. The single greatest waste of acting talent in this film. You can just tell that she's overwhelmed by the lack of context, the lack of actual scenery, just far too much green screen. From everything I've seen of her before, she's one of these actors that really rely and is really enhanced by actual scenery and actual set. Things to work off. And well, let's face it, she had nothing on this. Ian McDiarmid, he felt like a stage actor the whole time. And he is a stage actor. He's a very, very good one. And it was suitable. He was that grandstanding sort of character. And he really worked through the scenery. But like everything else, he was working real hard because I don't think you had a whole lot to go with. Jake Lloyd. Poor Jake. Yeah, he played Anakin Skywalker. He wasn't very good. I do believe this is a considerable miscast. Really young actors like this rely heavily upon direction and coaching and encouragement. Who dropped the ball here? Seriously, who dropped the ball? Shoutouts to Ray Park, come on, to Darth Maul, the coolest, shortest-lived character in the Star Wars saga. Anakin's mum, this actress put everything into the scenes. I don't think this movie deserved her. Ahmed Best as Jar Jar Binks. Poor Ahmed. Seriously, that guy copped some flack for this role. He really got unfairly hated on. Not unfairly because his character was actually good, because it wasn't. I hated this character. I cannot stand Jar Jar Binks at all. But I also understand from a lot of behind the scenes stuff and a lot of interviews that the version that Ahmed Best was presenting is not what we saw on screen. What we actually got is not what he gave. On the upside though, having a look through his IMDb profile, he got a lot of work out of Jar Jar Binks. Binks made some bank. 3 Star Wars movies, multiple appearances in TV shows like the animated stuff, and then a lot of paid voice acting gigs and computer games. So, kind of played out for him alright, financially speaking. Don't know what it did to his psyche. That kind of been good. Funny thing, watching this movie in a different language, particularly Italian with subtitles, actually improves it. How about that? Seriously, the characters in this are dull. They're flat. They're quite boring / irritating, which is a tragedy for a Star Wars film. This is Star Wars as a space opera. This is meant to be big characters in a big situation. Not what we got. I'm afraid characters are going to be getting a 1.75. This was a considerable letdown, particularly in a Star Wars movie / environment. Story. Weird this one. The story itself, the concept itself, is really quite intriguing. The story, as you would write it down, is good. It's a unique take. It's trade federation, it's taxation, it's politics. It's maneuverings in the Senate on a galactic scale. It's all manner of multiple levels of intrigue and backstabbing and machinations in dark corridors with the Sith manipulating things behind the scenes and the Jedi's trying to figure out what's going on. It's this intriguing mystery on paper. Its execution, however, is almost literal. It's a blaster bolt to the back of the head. Bang! It's a cinematic equivalent of a sweaty cheese platter that's been sitting in direct sunlight too long. Idea was great, but you don't want to touch it. The best bits are the pod race and the Darth Maul fight, and unfortunately they're very far apart. Pod Racer was cool fun. In fact, spawned one of my favorite Star Wars computer games of all time. The pod racing game. Man, I love that game. I was really good at the game. I'm going to have to go and see if I can find that game after this video. I did notice in this Blu-ray version in the... I'll go get it. There we go. Very nice. I did notice that in this version, the complete saga version, this version of the movie, which by the way is the only reason I have a copy of this movie at all, it seems longer. It seems like a longer version. There seems to be all 3 laps in this. I don't remember there being 3 laps at the cinemas. And then of course, Darth Maul versus Jin and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Very impressive. When we first saw this at the cinemas, this was the first time we've seen Jedi in their prime. Full tilt, fully trained, aggressive Jedi fighting. And it was mesmerizing. I remember the cinema going bananas when this happened. It was just awesome. However, these 2 examples also highlight a bigger problem. These 2 bits of the story are little side parts. They're just moments in an overall story. The best parts of this movie weren't actually connected to anything other than a cool sequence. And that's why the story falls over. What would have really looked good on paper and what sounds great when I think about it didn't eventuate on screen. It wasn't just the story's fault. This movie happens to fall down in every category. But this one in particular, I'm going to have to go ahead and give the story a 2. This is truly a missed opportunity on a fantastic concept. Look and feel, here we get some positives. I love the design of Star Wars stuff. I love the alien design, I love the spaceships, I love the planets. I love the fighters and the blasters and the tanks and the robots and the weapons and just the general look and feel of the whole universe. It's one of my favorite things in the world and will always be one of my favorite things in the world. And this movie delivered you so much cool new stuff. Everywhere you looked, new things, new things. It was nice. I mean, for example, Tatooine at night. The shots of Anakin and Obi-Wan sitting outside their house at night with all of Tatooine lit up in the darkness looked really aesthetically pleasing. It was a beautiful shot. And you do indeed get a lot of beautiful shots in this movie. Shots of architecture, shots of planets, angles of ships, things moving in the background, things moving in the foreground. Ultimately, this was a good looking movie. And not only was it good looking, it was good sounding. The audio effects were excellent. The pod race had some of the best audio in the whole movie. In fact, had some of the best audio out of any movie. Just something special. And of course, the musical score. How fantastic is that? It's always good to hear that when the music starts, when the music blares into life and the text is scrolling up the screen, I'm grinning. As much as I know I'm not going to enjoy this movie, it makes me happy to hear the music and see the text. It's a good feeling. It's nostalgia plus, but unfortunately nostalgia can't carry everything. And bad CGI is bad CGI. And there's a lot of it in this. It keeps jumping from great to pretty crappy. Yeah, okay, true. I have seen much worse CGI in many other movies. Thank you, Flash Gordon. However, this is a Star Wars movie. This has a higher expectation to begin with. You're not meant to be able to pick the CGI character out of the crowd. You're not meant to be able to go, that guy's fake, that guy's fake, that one's real, that one's real, that one's real. Badly blurred green screen, poorly tracking panning shots. All that sort of stuff. It shouldn't be a problem in a movie like this, especially the access to the resources and expertise that George Lucas had. It's not like he had to go hat in hand to people. He owned ILM. I have to look into it further, but I honestly think they must have subcontracted out a whole bunch of scenes. That's the only reason that makes sense to me. And with the abundance and dependence on green screen for this movie, as a result, a lot of the actors are struggling. They really are having a hard time emoting and presenting properly because I imagine they're acting against nothing. So at the end of it all, look and feel. Look, I want to give it a 3 or higher just because I love the way the universe looks, but it just doesn't get there. It really doesn't. It makes me sad, but I'll be giving it a 2.5. Again, I'd probably score it higher, but this is Star Wars. Come on. Dialogue, I'll make this easy. It was largely rubbish. The actors did what they could. The actors did the best that they could, I'm sure. Really, they were lumped with some poor dialogue. Stilted, clumsy, cliched, goofy even. Some of it was okay, some of it was actually quite good, but mostly it was just lame through to bad. You can almost hear Mr. Lucas going, and action, as they suddenly leap into a line that's got no emotional connection to the one that came before it, and certainly doesn't lead into the next line that the person right next to them has to say. Jar Jar and Anakin, it's a fight between those two as to who had the worst dialogue and which one of them was worst delivered. I feel bad for Jar Jar, mainly because this character got to do all the goofy stuff. I mean, to shake your head and make the blah 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 noise. And the slapstick, there was mainly slap, but he certainly needed a stick. Poor Jake Lloyd, you can see him trying to remember his lines. You can actually see him pausing, thinking, and then saying them. And sometimes clumsily trying to cross his arms, or clumsily attempting to do what he's been directed to do, but very clearly something's gone wrong here because this is the take they used. I kept wondering, is it the actors or is it the script? But you've got some high-end actors in this, so it can only be the script. Combine that with the directing, I suppose, and this is the mess you end up with. In particular, the midichlorian rubbish. Okay, so the Force isn't a mystical energy, it's the flu. It's a virus. It's a bunch of microbes living in your cell. Can you get inoculated against the Force? One Force vaccination when you're young, and Jedi are not a problem. There's a difference between coming up with a new take on something to shake up the status quo and give the audience a surprise, and purposely trampling all over, what, 20, 30 years worth of lore? Seriously, it's a stupid idea. I kept thinking, who did George hire to do the script? Turns out he didn't hire anyone, he wrote it himself. Script gets a 1.5. Whole thing made me mad, and it's managed to upset me a little bit more with every consecutive viewing since. Fun factor, well, let's just say I was happy when it was over. There are sections in it, there are scenes in it that I really enjoyed, but overall, no, I didn't have fun. I admit that I had a lot of fun with the first time I saw it, but I think that's because it was an event. It was the euphoria of having a new Star Wars movie for the first time ever. It was exciting, and I was on the wave of excitement and hype, and then I watched it again at the cinemas, and then I watched it again at the cinemas, and I'll be honest, I did watch it 4 times at the movies. On the 4th time, though, I'm like, this isn't as good as I thought it was. And once again, this version, for whatever reason, this feels a lot longer. I'm seeing shots and cutaways and extra little things that I don't remember. I've never seen those bits before. It ended up being 2 hours and 15 minutes of alright sci-fi. Fun factor, look, I'll give it a 2. Could be lower, but there are those moments I really did enjoy, and the lore building that this world gave me, it was okay. So, yeah, alright, we'll give it a 2, and I won't think about it any further. Final score, sadly enough, this one gets a 9.75. It would have probably got a better score if it wasn't such a massive disappointment to me for the franchises attached to. Would I watch this again? Not voluntarily. I only watch this for you guys, so I hope you appreciate my pain. I will say that the best thing that come out of this movie and the other 2 prequels was the Clone Wars animated series, and all the spin-off stuff from this era. That was pretty good. I liked all the bits that came out of this. I just don't like where it came from. So there we go. There's my review. I'm really sorry if I trampled on anyone's favourite film. I am very sorry if I've just gone and put big muddy footprints through your Star Wars fandom. But honestly, that's how I felt. And I'm not real happy I feel this way either. I really like my Star Wars. And this kind of ruined things. People whinge about the new movies. These much worse. So yeah, there's my review. Thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time. Hope you're having a great week. Please comment down below your thoughts on this film and that you make some time to go and watch a movie.